taking down one table and two patrons. Michel's treatment of his lady apparently rekindled the big fellow because he suddenly made a bull run at her. That charge was halted by a kick to his face, followed by an elbow smash to his ribs. Michel finished this off with a neatly executed side kick that disrupted a good bit of the cartilage in his left knee. Screaming in pain, the man dropped to the floor. He managed to stand straight up on his one good wheel, blood running down his face. The swells of hatred in his eyes said everything that needed to be said. The blade whipped at Michel after being pulled from the mountain's back pocket. She sent it sailing away with a kick that broke one of the man's fingers. Then she stood there, her body cocked and locked, waiting to see what he would try next. He retreated until his back touched the bar. His gaze darted left and right. Michel knew that with one more shot she could kill him and maybe vanquish the demons inside her. And that's when something snapped inside her brain. For perhaps the first time in years, Michel was seeing things as they were really meant to be seen. It was startling how fast the decision was reached. And once she made it, she did not revisit the issue. The man threw a weary, if hopeful, punch, and Michel easily sidestepped it. Then she aimed another kick, this time at his groin, but he managed to clamp a big hand on her thigh and stopped it in mid-flight. Re-energized, he gripped Michel around the waist, lifted her up, and threw her over the bar into a shelf of bottles. The crowd started chanting, "Kill the bitch! Kill the bitch!" The big man came over the bar. He picked Michel up and slammed her head first into the mirror, cracking the glass. He took a handful of dark hair, spun her around, put his other hand inside her belt, lifted her off the floor, and drove a massive knee right into her gut. He finished off by throwing her into the masses on the other side of the bar. She hit the floor hard and lay there, her face and hair bloody, her body going into spasms. The crowd all started kicking and spitting on her, but jumped back when the big man's size 16 boots landed next to Michel's head. "In the face, Rodney! You mess it up good!" screamed his lady. He was hauling back for the crusher that might take Michel from this world when the cops kicked down the door. Michel never heard them come in. Right after she hit the floor, she started to fade into unconsciousness. Her final thought was simple. "Goodbye, Sean." A worried Sean King stared out across the calm wedge of river in the rapidly fading light. Something was going on with Michel that he didn't know how to deal with. His best friend and partner was growing more depressed each day. In the face of this development, he'd suggested that they move back to the Washington, D.C. area and start anew. It wasn't like their lives in Wrightsburg, Virginia offered much incentive to stay. In the end, he and Michel had nearly sprinted away from the clutches of the small rural town, yet her mood had only grown worse. With funds low and work scarce in the highly competitive D.C. area, Sean and Michel were currently staying in the guest house of a friend's estate south of Washington. To add to their other woes, the loan of the guest house was about to come to an end in a matter of days. Michel had not been around for several days now. She was no longer answering her cell phone. The last night she had come home, she'd been so wasted, he laid into her for getting behind the wheel in that condition. By the time he got up the next morning, she was gone. He ran his finger over Michel's racing skull that was tied to a cleat on the dock. Michel Maxwell was a natural athlete, an Olympic medalist in rowing, an exercise fanatic. Yet the skull had lain untouched since they'd arrived here. She didn't go running on the nearby bike path and showed no interest in any other physical activity. She mostly sat and stared. She never initiated conversations and rarely answered his or anyone else's questions. 40 minutes later, while watching TV in the guest house, Sean received the call on his cell phone. Michel was lying unconscious in a hospital in D.C. after having been arrested for felony assault. There was a bandage on her forehead, and one side of her face was badly swollen. The doctor said, "We've got her sedated. She had a concussion, but otherwise the pictures of her head came back fine, and there's no internal bleeding." She suffered too.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.